Victor Lang opened the all-hands meeting with a slide that screamed celebration, fireworks, champagne, and a giant number in bold font. "Record earnings," he said. "Best year in Northbridge Metrics history. Profit margins up, renewals up. Investors are thrilled." People clapped. I clapped too, because applause is cheaper than groceries. Then Victor clicked to the next slide. Fireworks vanished. A bar chart appeared. Cost Discipline Initiative. "Now we protect the win," he continued. "We get lean. We prove we can do more with less." The room went silent in the way it does when everyone hears layoffs hiding behind corporate vowels. My name is Ethan Reed. I am 32. I run infrastructure and security, which means I keep our customer platform alive and keep our worst mistakes from becoming headlines. I do not do branding. I do not do ego. I do systems. Victor clicked again. Vendor consolidation, travel freeze, hardware reduction, office efficiency, bonus recalibration, in a record year. He looked straight at me. "Ethan, stand up." I stood. Every head turned. Victor smiled like a man about to call a penalty on someone else. "Ethan has kept our legacy stack stable," he said. "But stability is not enough. We need velocity. We need modern operations." Modern operations, in Victor language, meant cutting anything that did not sparkle on a quarterly call. An org chart appeared. My old box, Director of Infrastructure and Risk, had been moved to a corner labeled Documentation and Asset Hygiene. Under it was a smaller box labeled Temporary. "You will transition into documentation," Victor said. "Catalog assets, document dependencies, and support our managed services partner during the handoff." Managed services partner. An outside firm that would bill more than my team cost and still ask where the firewall lived. I kept my voice even. "Is this a performance issue?" "No," Victor said, still smiling. "This is cost discipline, across the board." Across the board, while Victor had expensed a leadership retreat with a private golf coach. Across the board, while he posted a selfie on the company intranet from a first-class seat with a caption about sacrifice. By lunch, the cuts started. Good coffee replaced by a bulk bag that tasted like wet cardboard. Travel approvals frozen, even for customer escalations. License renewals delayed. Overnight on-call pay renamed a cultural dependency. My new office was a converted storage room with a single chair and a label taped to the door. Asset hygiene. I set my bag down and read the handoff checklist Victor had given me. Compile, catalog, reduce. Then finance sent an email. All departments must submit a list of cancelable contracts by end of day. Target savings, $5 million before Q2. Victor wanted me to cut costs. Fine, I would cut costs like an engineer, not like a politician. I opened a document titled Cost Discipline Compliance Log and started recording everything. Every denial, every rushed signature, every decision made for optics instead of operations. Then I called my attorney, Daniel Price, a calm man who spoke like he had a spreadsheet where his feelings should be. I said, "They just demoted me and told me to reduce costs in a record year." Daniel paused. "Do not retaliate. Do not sabotage. Do exactly what they asked and document every step. Reduce what they are too arrogant to understand." When I hung up, I stared at the finance email again. Cancelable contracts. I knew the one contract Victor would try to cut last because he did not even know it existed. And I knew what would happen when it disappeared. I glanced through the glass wall at Victor in his corner office, laughing on a video call about tightening belts. Our belts were already tight. His was custom leather. By afternoon, the office felt like a flea market with a stock ticker. Finance wanted quick wins. Managers started hunting subscriptions the way people hunt loose change under couch cushions. Victor asked for a list of cancelable contracts. I gave him a spreadsheet with neat columns, clean totals, and one line item I knew would make him itchy. Secure Vault support and key custody, annual renewal. Secure Vault was the quiet heart of Northbridge. It held the keys that encrypted customer data, signed software updates, and validated our customer portal. It was also expensive, because security costs money when you do it correctly. Victor replied 2 minutes later, "Can we cut this in half?" In a record year, he wanted to bargain with the locks on the front door. I did not argue. I complied. Victor had launched a vendor consolidation program to simplify the stack. It came with a standard packet. Replace multiple vendors with one provider, show cost savings, get CEO approval. My new job title, Documentation and Asset Hygiene, conveniently included catalog contracts and proposed reductions. Perfect. I filled out the packet. New provider, Grayline Continuity Services. Scope, Key Custody Coordination, Certificate Lifecycle Management, Continuity Testing, Vendor Negotiation. Projected savings, 40% below current blended spend. Grayline was a real company, registered, insured, and boring on purpose. Daniel Price, my attorney, had helped me set it up months earlier as a side consultancy. I disclosed my affiliation in the vendor paperwork. No tricks, no hidden names, just a clean conflict statement and a clean signature chain. Procurement sent it to finance. Finance sent it to legal. Legal forwarded it to Victor because Victor had made himself the final approver for cost discipline wins. At 4:17 p.m., Victor approved it. No questions, no call, just the signature he treated like a stamp. The next morning, I started the consolidation. I notified Secure Vault that Northbridge would be consolidating support through an approved continuity partner. They asked for the authorized contact. I provided Grayline. Then I updated our certificate authority account. Contact email and renewal authority moved to Grayline. I did the same for the domain registrar and the secure logging vendor. Ownership stayed with Northbridge. Billing and renewal authority moved to the consolidated provider, exactly as the program allowed. I also created the deliverables Victor loved: dashboards, a savings summary, and an audit-friendly continuity test schedule. Auditors had been asking for formal continuity testing for years. Victor had ignored it because it did not make money. Now it had a price tag and the word savings, so he loved it. Maya Chen, our CFO, stopped me near the elevators. She looked exhausted and precise, like a woman who could calculate disaster in her head. "I saw the Grayline packet," she said. "Yes," I replied. "Victor is going to hate this when he realizes what he signed." "Then Victor should read what he signs," I said. "Everything is disclosed." Maya lowered her voice. "He needs a villain. Record earnings and cost-cutting makes people angry. Be careful." I nodded. "That is why my documentation is aggressive." Back in my storage room office, I assembled a binder labeled Continuity Bundle Deliverables. Inside, the approval chain, the scope statement, the audit schedule, and Grayline service terms. Service terms were simple: net 10 payment, late fees, service suspension if invoices were ignored, renewal authority paused if support lapsed. No drama, just consequences written in plain English. I emailed Victor a one-line update. Vendor consolidation completed. Estimated annual savings, $1.9 million. He replied with a thumbs-up emoji. I stared at the screen for a long moment, then saved the email to my compliance log. Victor was not leading a company. He was tapping approve on a machine he did not understand. And he had just signed up for the part where machines do exactly what the paperwork says. Victor treated cost-cutting like a sport. He froze raises, cut the annual security audit because it was redundant, and tried to renegotiate the database maintenance plan during a week we were onboarding 3 enterprise customers. He also announced a new executive studio on the 7th floor so he could record a leadership podcast called Lean and Legendary. Record earnings, and he still chased pennies. My inbox filled with fires I was no longer allowed to put out. People still came to me out of habit. I kept redirecting them to the new managed services team, who kept asking me where the runbooks were. I handed them the runbooks, because I am not cruel. I am just tired. On Tuesday, Victor called a cost discipline war room. He stood at the head of the table with a printout of my Grayline savings summary. "Why are we paying for continuity testing?" he asked. Maya Chen answered carefully. "Auditors have requested formal drills for years. We need a test for governance." Victor waved her off. "Governance does not ship product. Ethan, reduce the scope." "Yes," I said. "We can run a short continuity drill instead of a quarterly exercise. 72 hours, minimal disruption, audit-friendly." Victor nodded, pleased. "Do it. Make it look clean for the board." So I did it. Grayline would host a mirrored environment for 72 hours, then hand everything back. I wrote a runbook, a rollback plan, and a simple requirement: uninterrupted support coverage, and on-time invoice payment. I sent the plan to legal, finance, and Victor. Victor approved it in under a minute. 2 days later, HR invited me to a meeting titled Vendor Relationship Review. The invite included Linda Greer from HR and a junior lawyer who looked like he still believed in fairness. Maya found me outside the room. "Victor is telling people you created Grayline to siphon money," she whispered. "I disclosed it," I said. "Approvals are documented, savings are documented." Maya shook her head. "He does not want facts. He wants a story." Inside, Linda slid my vendor packet across the table. "Do you benefit from Grayline?" "Yes," I said. "Grayline is my company. The relationship is disclosed on page 2. Victor signed the approval on page 5. The lawyer cleared his throat. "Victor is concerned about optics." "Optics are cheaper than uptime," I said. "That is why he likes them." Linda tightened her jaw. "Are you refusing to cooperate?" "I am cooperating," I said. "I am also documenting." By that afternoon, my access started vanishing. Email first, then VPN, then the ticketing system. The managed services lead messaged me on a personal app to ask why my account was locked. I told him to ask Victor. At 5:30 p.m., Victor summoned me. He paced in his office like a man practicing anger. "Conflict of interest," he said. "Vendor manipulation. You are done." "I followed your consolidation program," I replied. "You approved it. You got your savings." "You exploited it," Victor snapped. "I complied with it," I corrected. "There is a difference." 2 security guards appeared. They looked uncomfortable, which was the only human thing in the room. I picked up my backpack. "One operational note," I said. "The continuity drill starts tomorrow at 9. It runs for 72 hours. Your teams have the run book." Victor scoffed. "Cancel it." "You asked for it," I said. "You approved it. Also, Grayline reserved capacity. The invoice is due tomorrow. Net 10. Victor leaned forward, eyes bright with arrogance. "We will not pay you another $1. I nodded once. "Then you should read the service terms." They escorted me out. I handed over my badge in the lobby and walked into the cold air. In my car, my phone buzzed with a calendar reminder. Continuity drill, start, 9 a.m. I opened my compliance log and typed one last entry for the day. CEO threatened non-payment during approved continuity drill. No sabotage, no hacking. Just a company choosing, in writing, to unplug its own parachute. At 8:59 a.m. on Thursday, the continuity drill began. Northbridge staff did not notice, which was the point. Traffic shifted to the mirrored environment Grayline had prepared. Customer logins worked, dashboards loaded, payments cleared. The managed services lead sent a note. Continuity test in progress, no action required. Victor sent his own note 10 minutes later, proud of our lean resilience. On Friday, Victor had scheduled an investor live stream to celebrate record earnings and announce another round of cost discipline. He wanted to brag about operational excellence while cutting on call pay and freezing bonuses. At 9:15 a.m., my phone rang. It was the junior lawyer from HR. "Ethan, the CEO says you are running an unauthorized environment," he said. "It is authorized," I replied. "It is the approved continuity drill. Victor signed it." "There is a dispute," the lawyer said. "He is alleging misconduct." "Then we follow the service terms," I said. "If the client alleges fraud, Grayline must place a compliance hold on privileged access until the dispute is resolved. It protects both sides." A pause. "That will affect production." "It will affect his live stream," I said. At 9:58 a.m., 2 minutes before Victor went live, Grayline executed the hold. Sessions began timing out. The customer portal displayed a plain notice. "Service temporarily unavailable due to compliance hold. Contact your continuity provider." Slack exploded. Sales could not demo. Support could not authenticate. Finance could not pull billing reports. The managed services team restarted machines like restarting could fix a contract. Victor went live anyway. He smiled into the camera, announced record earnings, then froze when the error notice appeared on the screen behind him. His face did something I had never seen in a CEO. It admitted reality. At 10:12 a.m., Victor called me. "You did this," he said. "I followed the terms," I replied. You created the compliance risk when you accused me and threatened non-payment. This is sabotage, he snapped. Turn it back on. I can lift the hold under 3 conditions, I said. 1, you send a written statement retracting the misconduct allegation. 2, you sign a revised services agreement naming Grayline as continuity provider for 1 year, paid quarterly in advance. 3, you restore the budgets you cut, including on-call pay, and issue the bonuses you recalibrated out of existence after record earnings. He laughed, sharp and brittle. You want to run the company now? I want the company to survive your vanity, I said. A new voice joined the call, Maya, calm and exhausted. The board wants to speak with Ethan, she told Victor. Now. I was on a call with 3 directors within minutes. Their questions were practical. What Victor had signed, what Grayline controlled, and the fastest path to restore service. I answered the way I always answered in outages, facts first. I read approval timestamps. I described the compliance hold clause. I offered a restoration checklist and a clear exit path for Northbridge if they wanted to unwind the consolidation. One director asked, "Is this about money?" "It is about governance," I said. Record earnings do not excuse reckless cuts. He treated risk management like an optional subscription. Silence. Then another director said, "Send the agreement." The call ended. My phone stayed silent for 3 minutes. Then Victor texted, "Send the agreement." I stared at the message and felt something steady settle in my chest. The company had spent a year celebrating record earnings. Now it was learning the true cost of pretending operations are optional. I forwarded the agreement to the board, copied legal, and attached my compliance log. The directors signed first. Victor signed last, minutes later, because pride always needs extra time to die. At 11:03 a.m., Grayline lifted the hold. The portal came back like nothing happened, except everyone now knew how close the company had come to a self-inflicted blackout. By Monday, the company had recovered its logins, but not its illusions. Victor tried to act like Friday had been a harmless glitch, a minor vendor misunderstanding. He posted a message on the intranet about resilience. He ended it with a quote from a philosopher he definitely had not read. Then he called another meeting to announce with a straight face that the cost discipline initiative would continue. The board disagreed. At 10 a.m., Maya asked me to join a closed session. I logged in from my apartment kitchen because my badge still did not work and nobody wanted to admit that was symbolic. 3 directors were on the call, plus Maya and Daniel Price, my attorney. Daniel sat off camera, but I could hear the click of his pen like a metronome. The chair of the board spoke first. "Ethan, we reviewed your documentation. We reviewed Victor's approvals. We reviewed his statements to HR. I kept my voice steady. Then you understand why the hold happened." "We do," she said. "We also understand the company cannot survive another episode of ego-based cost-cutting." Maya did not smile, but her shoulders loosened like someone had finally put down a heavy box. The chair continued. "Victor will be placed on administrative leave effective today. An interim CEO will be appointed. The cost discipline initiative is paused pending a risk review." Victor did not join the call. He was probably upstairs in the studio space practicing his podcast voice for an audience that had moved on. The board chair turned to the practical part. "We want to unwind the vendor consolidation if possible. We want continuity control back inside the company. We want an internal leader." I answered honestly. "It is possible, but not fast. Grayline can transition authority back in phases. You will need staff, budget, and respect for the work. Also, the safest internal leader is the person you just fired." A director cleared his throat. "Would you return?" I glanced at Maya. She gave a small nod that felt like permission to breathe. "I will return under conditions," I said. "Restore the on-call program and back pay the canceled stipend. Reinstate the security audit. Renew the maintenance plans you tried to cut. Pay the bonuses promised for record earnings. And put in writing that operational risk decisions cannot be overridden by a CEO without board review." Daniel clicked his pen once. "Also, a severance clause if those terms are violated." The board chair did not hesitate. "Agreed." 20 minutes later, a revised offer letter arrived. Title: Vice President of Reliability and Security. Budget: increased. Team: rebuilt. Authority: clear. The only thing it did not include was a promise that human nature would improve. That afternoon, I returned to the office with a temporary badge. The podcast studio on the 7th floor was half built. Foam panels, a neon sign that said lean, and a microphone still wrapped in plastic. I walked past it without slowing down. I had no interest in recording wisdom. I preferred building it. In my old storage room, someone had left my binder on the desk like a peace offering. On top was a sticky note from Maya. Good work. Keep copies. I did. Victor emailed the company at 6 p.m. His message was short. He thanked everyone for their dedication and said he was stepping away to focus on family. Nobody replied, which might be the most honest feedback he ever received. Before I logged off, I sent one final invoice from Gray Line to Northbridge. Description: compliance hold resolution and governance education. Amount: $1. I paid it myself with the company card Maya handed me, because petty victories should be lightweight. The next morning, the good coffee returned. Someone restored the snack budget. The world did not become fair, but it became functional, and in a record earnings year, that felt like justice.